we really like to look at the paid in full to charged off ratio. So you have some industries that I don't know if they'll be on here for much longer leading the charge, like travel and hospitality, where traditionally for every 9 loans that were paid in full, one loan was charged off. So that's what we call a paid in full to charge off ratio. Or I think given the current crisis we're seeing, the pandemic with COVID-19, that ratio is going to drop. Is it going to go to 5 to 1, 6 to 1, 7 to 1, 8 to 1? I'm not sure, but I'm pretty certain that this ratio is going to go down as hospitality has been one of the hardest hit industries given this current crisis. Children's programs, healthcare services, business services, those are all categories, industries that had a paid in full to charge off ratio above 5 to 1. And then going down the list, you have food and beverage, where there's a lot of misconceptions where every other restaurant fails or the majority of restaurants fail, which in the franchise space, that is not true. And what we've seen based on government data, this information released by the Small Business Administration, is for every 4 franchises in the food and beverage space that paid back their loan, there was 1 that basically was charged off and had issues. And again, it's really important when you're talking to, if you're exploring franchises, why did those fail? Well, in FDD, you can see the numbers of franchise closures, transfers, etc. Is it because of the location? What is the franchisor doing to limit that type of location for future franchisees? Was it because of a bad operator? Was it because the operator ran out of working capital? It's really important to study and to get a clear, concise answer on why the business failed if you're exploring a franchise in particular, so you don't take unnecessary risk, essentially. There's over 1,700 franchises, and you should definitely explore a good number of franchises before you just move forward with one of them. So our data on franchises is most comprehensive. It also happens to be our forte. My experience is in the financial markets. I worked a little bit at a private equity fund that would lend money to multi-unit franchisees of some very large quick service restaurants. My brother and business partner, the other co-founder of Vetted Biz, used to work at Burger King, Restaurant Brands International, which owns Burger King, Tim Hortons, and Popeyes. So we do come from the franchise space, principally on the investment side. So going into our first category, food and beverage. And again, feel free to visit our site and you can go through the industries. Food and beverage is the first one, and then scrolling down, you can go more, and there's 14 other ones. But first on the food and beverage side. So again, this is only from 2010 to 2019. So some of this data you have to take with a grain of salt, because keep in mind that some of these businesses might run into issues later on. So maybe they took a loan in 2018, 2017, and they're going to get hit hard right now. That isn't reflected in the data that we have. It will be reflected as we do updates to our analysis on an industry by industry level. But over the last 10 years or so, as you can see, the paid in full rate was 39%. The charge off rate was 4% for the food and beverage industry. And the SBA Loan Success Ratio was 8 to 1. Sorry, this is for the overall industry, so not necessarily just franchises. Franchises, we have additional information where we include what the average royalty is, and I believe we have over 500 franchises that we looked at, and this comes from the FDDs generally that were issued in 2019, and we're finalizing the study for 2020. A lot of franchisors have been delayed in their final FDD given the ongoing coronavirus crisis. But yeah, these are pretty standard. We see a royalty fee of 5%, 6%, marketing 2, 2.5. And then the SBA loan data for the franchise information is a little worse than, a little better than what you see for the overall industry numbers. And there's a few different reasons you could see that, but you have the ongoing support from the franchisor on the initial stage and ongoing. So not so significant, but it does move the needle. And then when you take out, say, when you look at 500 food and beverage franchisors, and then you look at the top 5%, top 10% performers, the loan success ratio is going to be a lot higher. And there's many systems where they haven't had a default, or out of 15 loans, there's been one default, or out of 30 loans, there's been one default. So definitely look at those numbers, look at the closure rate of franchises, and really understand, maybe there have been a lot of closures in the past, and it was for a good reason because the business model was changing, and maybe there have been too many franchisees. Those are items for concern. You should definitely flush out when you're having these conversations with franchisors and talking to franchisees. As I imagine most people are investing a significant portion of their net worth into these businesses. And it's really important to understand what the downside risks are, and not just look at the upsides and how much money you're going to make. So you can see here a lot of different franchises. Some of these brands you might recognize. We also have some very large brands on our site, like McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts. Generally not the best fit for individual investors that don't already own and operate restaurants and aren't already in the franchise space, because many of them will require net worth of $2 million, net worth of $5 million. You got to commit to opening up 5 to 10 locations. If you want to live in Florida or California or Texas, most likely the territory's already been sold out. Many of the large brands are just also growing through existing franchisees. And then in food and beverage, you have brands like Chick-fil-A and that doesn't fully operate as a franchise, and it's more of a profit share with the corporate center, and then other pizza franchises where they're really just promoting from within, and the managers are becoming franchisees. So we are producing a lot of information on that, and we've had our analysts go through the top 20 franchises by number of locations, as well as top 20 most searched franchises online. And we've done deep dives on all those brands, looking at how much it costs to start, if they disclose their sales and other financial earnings. So feel free to browse on our site and check out some of the latest articles if you're curious to learn more about those big brands and why they might not be listed on, find some of our vetted food and beverage businesses. They're here on our site, but they might not be on the top, given the majority of our web viewers. It just doesn't make sense to explore that opportunity, given their experience.